Straight to a Fox News alert. Violence escalating in Sudan overnight. The U.S. military airlifting its embassy staff and their families from the country.
The State Department maintaining its level 4 do not travel advisory as airports shut down and roads are blocked off.
Alexandria Hoff joins us live from Washington. Good morning.
Good morning, Will, Rachel, Pete. While U.S. government employees have been evacuated, there are still thousands of Americans caught in the crossfire of this violent power struggle in Sudan. Last night, President Biden confirmed that the U.S. was temporarily suspending operations there as the fighting in Sudan's capital of Khartoum and other cities has raged on into a second week now. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin called the evacuation of U.S. military personnel and U.S. diplomatic personnel a successful operation. Additional countries and the United Nations mobilized to remove diplomatic staff as well. That took place last night through this morning. But time is running out for anybody who wants to get out of this country if it has not happened yet. Air traffic has been halted. The airport pummeled by shelling there. Roadblocks, as you can see, in place, complete chaos. And the nation of 45 million people running out of food and medicine. Right now, there's little access to medical care as more than 2/3 of Sudan's hospitals are out of service. And according to the United Nations, looters have stolen at least 10 World Food Program vehicles. Those were there to help. In addition, a large food market in Darfur that also served as a camp for displaced people was burned yesterday. Nearly 600 people have reportedly lost their lives so far in this conflict. And it's one that President Biden called last night belligerent, demanding that an unconditional ceasefire must be implemented and that humanitarian access has to be allowed in that country. Sudan is now entering its second week once again of violence as the army and a paramilitary group called Rapid Support Forces battle for control of the country. The two sides actually used to be allies, seizing power together in a coup 2 years ago. Now they are fighting over which side's general would be the one to lead the country's military. And this morning, the New York Times is reporting that the two sides are accusing each other of standing in the way of evacuation efforts for other foreign diplomats. Guys.
All right, thank you, Alexandria. So tense moments there in the Horn of Africa. We've all been learning a little more about Sudan this morning. What I think is interesting or important is that this has been described as an existential war. Both of these sides see this as a zero-sum game. So somebody has to be eliminated.
Yeah, there was a general and there was his deputy, and they made a deal together to depose the existing government, which had been there for about 30 years in 2019. Then they turned on each other when there was not a power-sharing arrangement that could work. And you look at that map right now, I mean, Sudan's the third largest country in Africa. It's got a substantial land border with the Red Sea. A lot of trade goes through that area. It's got alliances with China, with Russia. We've tried to build relationships there as well. It's got a substantial Islamist background as well, although the government tried to go secular. We'll see what happens out of this. But it's a civil war right now between two generals trying to control that capital.
Yeah, and Libya is playing a role in this because there is the General Haftar. He leads the Libyan National Army in Libya, and he is pretty close with the Rapid Support Forces leader, Hemti. And so it looks like they're getting help from each other. And of course, this is an important area with lots of routes for drugs and other, things moving through there. So a lot of people want to control that area and want to align with whoever they think is going to win.
Yeah, the external influence is also something to keep our eye on. Russia's tried to make entrees into that country, as you point out, Pete. Its importance with that border on the Red Sea makes it something that can control trade or drugs or terrorism going through that area. And in fact, that's what's highlighted in the Washington Post. Look at this headline. Wagner Group surges in Africa as U.S. influence fades, leak reveals. Now, this is tied to the leak from here in America with that Air National Guardsman, Jack Teixeira. This is where this information comes from. The Washington Post goes on to say the Wagner Group is moving aggressively to establish a confederation of anti-Western states in Africa, and the Russian mercenaries foment instability while using their paramilitary and disinformation capabilities to bolster Moscow's allies, according to those leaked secret U.S. intelligence documents. We referenced Wagner Group there several times. I don't want to take for granted that anyone knows what that is. It's fascinating. Right. Pete, Wagner Group mercenaries employed by Vladimir Putin.
Paramilitary, plausible deniability from the Kremlin, but they're much like the RGC in Iran. They're meant to export the interests of Russia. just like Iran uses paramilitary forces to do the same. They go into countries either to bolster regimes they like or destabilize regimes they don't like, all in the interest of Russia.
And these leaks have suggested the Wagner Group is not to leave the news cycle where our eyes are focused on Sudan. But the Wagner Group's playing as far away from home as places like Haiti, right on our border here with the United States.
Right. And the Wagner Group also closely aligned with that Libyan group, the Libyan military National Army group led by Haftar. So lots of connections to that as well.
So we evacuated embassy personnel on some Chinooks, although thousands of Americans still there, stranded amongst that civil war. Unsurprising, considering how many were left behind in Afghanistan as well. Yeah. Tragic. We think about them today. If we get developments, we'll bring it to you this morning.
Yeah, we'll give you developments on who's able to evacuate and who's not, because not everyone has.
Yeah, for sure.